Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
This is 2OF Entertainment. What could be more reprehensible than two old farts? Three old farts featuring Dave and Steven and Greg Shapiro with funny ha-ha.
Oh, and here we is. We're live. Who knew?
Hey,
Hey, this is awesome.
I try to have a different background every time, Steven.
I see that. It's nice. I keep the same one no matter where I go. I just
Yeah,
what
I
you call
like
it, just I transfer it with me. Continuity. So,
Yeah, right.
how you
Yeah.
been? How you been? Good.
I've been funny, weird, funny, haha. Since we
Okay.
spoke last time, I have come and gone. I've gone to the United States and come back successfully. So,
Congratulations.
yes, there was some
Because-
doubt.
Yes.
But,
There've been a lot of warnings. Countries have been saying that to their travelers, like the UK of all places, in Canada. Like if you go to the US, they may not let you in, or you may be arrested. And I'm like,
well,
seriously.
this is for non-U.S. passport holders,
Right.
Yeah, I actually I was traveling with my daughter, and
Okay.
she's mid-20s by now. Hasn't
Okay.
been to the U.S. for a while to see our family back there. And it was my wife, who's Dutch, who said, maybe you better go before, I don't know, things get weird.
Worse.
And I was thinking, like, how weird? I mean, fine, whatever. We'll go. How weird can it get? But while we were there,
Yeah.
was the story of the Canadian woman who had a visa which had expired briefly at one point years ago, but that was
Right.
enough to detain her like indefinitely
Yes.
at these for-profit, holding facilities and stuff.
Yep.
Then was what I'm trying to collect them. German national with a visa who also was like detained and because his visa, he had a drug possession maybe 10 years ago or something,
Right.
which was like expunged. I don't know what's the word, but it
Expunged.
showed up on the record. But
Yeah.
the biggest was the French academic, I think, who was deported or turned back basically because he had negative comments about Musk on his and Trump on his social media or on his email.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that happened while we were in the US. And
Crazy.
yeah, and we only found out like once we got back to Europe. So
Where it was safe. So now is your daughter US or is she Amsterdam? She's Netherlands, right? Because she was born there.
Both, right? So we've
she's dual.
we've got our kids dual citizenship. I mean, like, and they have both passports. Well, then let's give them opportunities. That's what we thought back in the day. I also know people who are like, I don't want my U.S. passport anymore. You can take it. And then someone in their family is on their deathbed, and it's like, can I have a visa, please? And,
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Like, so that's
some point.
situation.
At some point, I'm assuming the U.S. goes back to where it is. Unfortunately, the other day in the Financial Times, as well as Bloomberg and all over the news, Trump said that he wants to run for a third term and that he could do that. And he's serious and that it's no problem. And then,
it's not technically. Do you know the loophole?
Yeah, the loophole is Congress, like 2/3 of Congress has to say yes. But the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution, which is this little piece of paper that, we live our
loopy writing.
It's like no big deal. Says no. It says 2 terms. The only reason FDR got 3 terms is because of the war. So unless we have a nuclear holocaust between now and 2028, the orange man should leave, and I will bet money, and I've said this, he will not. He's the new emperor, and the emperor's not going anywhere.
Well, wait, so the 22nd Amendment came in after FDR, right? Like as in a reaction to FDR?
I think they were like, it was sort of like, by the way, we're adding this that you can't.
He won 4 elections in a row. But so I think there's something in the wording of the amendment about not serving terms, but being elected for terms. So technically, I read what like Trump could get J.D. Vance elected, but
Right.
Trump would be either the vice president, so they would do it like Putin and Medvedev did in
Right.
2008.
Yeah.
If they didn't even want to do that, they could say J.D. Vance plus someone as vice president run, with the understanding that first of all they would elect Trump to be the Speaker of the House.
Right.
And you don't have to be a member of Congress for that to happen.
Right.
And then as soon as the president and vice, like J.D. Vance plus vice president would win, they would resign.
And then he would become president.
Speaker of the House, the president. And so, I mean, it's a loophole. It would still be technically legal. Apparently, the Constitution.
I know, but or 2/3 of the Congress could amend it.
And is that also true? Is it?
I think that's also true. I don't see that happening because
we're so in the weeds so early. It's funny, haha.
It's funny. It really is funny, haha. It's just like, guess what?
Yeah.
But I read that and I'm like, so it's. I mean, this is who we elected. Hope you're all happy because you're about to go into. We're not out of the depression, and I said depression, not recession of 2008 yet. And he's putting us now into another depression because everything is skyrocketing with his tariffs. I heard a lady yesterday on Bloomberg, and to her credit, she was the commerce secretary or assistant. And she was like, there's a lot of smart people and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get that. However, the way we're approaching it, not smart. I mean, they're trying to go back to the 1930s, the way the tariffs used to be. And that didn't do well either. So I like the reciprocity idea of it.
Yeah.
Where it's, hey, if you're going to charge us 12% on X, we're going to charge you 12% on X. And I think, okay, we make that work. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But this stuff where it's like, oh, we're going to charge you 7,000%. And once again, the American people, that's right. Stick it to China, stick it to France, stick it to this one. I'm like, do you understand that 7,000% is you're paying that? They don't pay that. Do you understand how that works? And people are like, well, they'll balance the butt. Once again, do you understand how this works? And they don't. And I really think that somebody one day, and probably we've done it on this show with Michael Collins, who's a famous economist.
Oh yeah.
We literally explained how tariff works. Like, how Greg brings his product here and we have to pay a tariff. So we pay more and we write a check to the government.
Right.
And then since I wrote a check to the government as a importer, go, hey, I'm passing that along. And people are like, no, that's not how it works. China writes the check. I'm like, I've been in finance for 100 years. And it doesn't work that way.
The example I was thinking of was like, if Trump had to make extra MAGA hats. I mean,
oh my God, they're made in China.
Made in America, folks.
Made in China.
So once he wants to import a bunch of hats, then
they're gonna go up.
Then he's gonna have to pay those tariffs to the U.S. government, and maybe that could bring down the old. I don't know. What about the basis, like the logic behind the tariffs, which is we want to bring more manufacturing back to the United States, and do American people want to work in manufacturing jobs anymore? That's something I saw.
They won't for two. Well, one, we had this discussion on one of the other shows. So Honda said, you know what? You're right. We're going to bring manufacturing back.
Yeah.
Okay. They said, and which is true, in 2028, 2029, our plant will be open. Okay. So you're bringing it back, but
Honda they make a lot. I mean, cars or motorcycles.
The car, they're bringing the manufacturing from Mexico to here, cars. So
cool.
So they won't go on delay. They'll just go beep beep. So I'm just trying to help out. But the problem is that it's going to take 3 to 4 years to build the factory.
Right.
So it's great that you're bringing it back.
Yeah.
However, nobody thinks past tomorrow. So because there's no long-term planning now, if I was a car manufacturer, I would have been like, listen.
Yeah,
there's a good chance, this is when Biden's in the White House, that Orange Man's going to win. We know how he thinks.
Right.
Why don't we just preempt it and go, hey, let's start building a plant. And then when he wins, we go, look, we're building plants because of you. You're wonderful. You're great.
Yeah.
And then this way you have plants. Now, if he wins a third term, then they'll be here when he's here. But if not, in 28, 29, the new dictator will be, look what I've done.
Yeah.
So that's a bad thing about the plants. So
Yeah.
I like it, but the other part of that is people don't work in plants anymore, robots do. So it's great that we're bringing manufacturing back.
Yeah.
I just don't know what I'm going to do with the people.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what to
I
do
mean,
with
chips
them.
are the same way. A lot of chip
Right,
manufacturing, like let's bring that back onshore or
right.
not, offshoring, reshoring, I guess they called it.
Reshoring, right. And
Yeah.
that's, once again, I don't know if they realize this, but it's all done with robots and people. There's not little, all right, now granted, Foxconn and Apple, the sweatshop with the little kids may be different. But
Yeah.
in real high-tech plants in Taiwan, which China's
Right.
going to invade probably next week,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
there are robots
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
four people that wear white suits to stay clean and go, oh, it's working. And they walk around all day and go, no, it's working. It's working.
Right.
And that's it. So
Yeah. I
you're
bet.
not, it's not Detroit of the 1960s and 70s where it was like 200,000 people going to work every day. It's
Yeah.
Detroit of today, which is like, how many people are going to work? 8 of you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like we can
I don't know. I
carpool.
mean, I guess that's true. I guess I'm thinking of now the manufacturing and I listened to this podcast with Ezra Klein talking about his
Right.
new book, and he's talking about, I mean, why is it just so difficult to get things done in America? I think he talked about chips manufacturing at one point, and just, Biden Chips Act, great.
Right.
We can't be dependent on other countries. We can't have the delay in delivery and all this. Well, that's why so much inflation happened right after COVID, right?
Right.
Shortage of chips, and chips are in everything. But anyway, so I think the Ezra Klein book is the latest in a series, I think, of these books about like, why can't we get things done anymore?
Right.
But so many requirements about like, oh, are you going to have the proper amount of childcare and facilities and DEI, yes, and
Not anymore.
environmental studies and stuff, yeah. But I think the other thing, the example they talked about on the Jon Stewart podcast,
Mhm.
where Ezra Klein was the guest. So they talked about broadband or internet for rural areas
Right.
in
Sure.
America. And yeah, it's a longer thing and you can listen, but I think there were like 56 areas that were encouraged to apply for these
Right.
grants to get internet for, the Mississippi, Alabama,
Right.
Oklahoma, where you have to, if you're a kid and you want to do homework, you have to find the nearest McDonald's parking lot.
Right.
And so great. Out of these 56 areas, after like 3 or 4 years, only 3 are still in the running because every single step has to have like a 6-month waiting period for
Right.
review and consent, or and a 9-month chance for people to object, and from the federal level, state level, county level, city level. And anyway, it is another reason maybe.
You think? It's like 17 years to put a stoplight up. No, and the funny part
Yeah,
about it is I was watching this thing on China,
yeah,
and they built a high-speed rail
yeah,
they said it couldn't be done through the country, through their desert, through whatever. Took
yeah,
them like 2 years,
right.
and
Good
China
old
gets things
human
done.
suffering.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
So, but I'm just saying, China gets stuff done.
yeah.
And I'm not saying it's
They
the
built the
perfect
American
way.
railways too. Let's
I
face
was
it.
just going to say that's true. They know how to build. And can I tell you, we used to do deals in South America, and we came across them many times in Bolivia and Colombia when it came to railroads as well. They would outbid our clients left and right because you're just like, oh, by the way, the American people, blah 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 blah, 8%, 9%, whatever.
Yeah,
We're the Chinese.
yeah.
Our government is going to give you a loan at like 3 basis points. You can pay it off in 10,000 years.
Wow.
And
Oh,
people are like, ooh. And
yeah.
it was sort of like, I would say to our client, you can't compete with that. They're
No.
basically paying to be here
Yeah.
for they think of 100 to 1,000 years ahead. We think of how much profit can I make in 2 to 5 years. They're thinking of how can we
Yeah.
take over the world in 2,100. So there's a big difference in the way we
I'm
think.
learning some Mandarin. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know a little bit of Mandarin, so yeah. But it's I my problem with all of this is and a EU person said this, China's laughing right now at America because China now is talking to all our, for lack of a better term, allies, going, you can come with us.
Yep.
We're not going to do this to you. Now, Australia will tell you that's a little not true, but for
Yeah.
the most part,
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, we'll help you. And
Yeah.
so what's happening is this balance of power and shifting is going. So we'll see what happens in the next 3 years with the greenback. We're going to see what
Yeah.
happens with our democracy.
Are we?
If we're going to be
Here's the thing,
isolationism.
Are we
Yeah.
deliberately devaluing the dollar to not make it the reserve currency anymore? Because that's a theory I've
Well,
heard.
well, Trump is, because he's got his crypto algorithms now. He's got the
Crypto. Yeah. Okay.
crypto. He's got the stable coin, his US1, which is the tied to the dollar,
Yeah.
which none of them really are. But so he's got that. He's
Yeah.
got his meme. His wife's got a meme. The
Yeah.
kids just invested in a called America block mining or whatever they're calling it. It's a brand new Bitcoin mining. So for him, he's
Okay.
pushing for crypto to be the
Yeah.
new thing. And that's wonderful. And
Yeah.
an analysis on Bloomberg, the guy said, it's a great way to buy somebody and not break a law. It's good. You
Okay.
could literally show up at
That's
Trump.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, you could show up to Trump or Musk in the White House and go,
Yeah.
look what I did. I
Yeah.
whatchamacalled it. I
Yeah.
bought your coin. I bought
Yep.
$17 million of your coin.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, okay then. So
You're
they weren't saying
It's
people
not
are
a
doing it.
bribe.
It's
It's
not a
just
bribery.
a
I'm just letting you know.
contribution. Yeah.
Right. So
I love how the Bitcoin in general, or crypto in general, like, Trump election, woo!
Yep.
Trump inaugurated. Woo!
Yeah, they got the Trump bump. Well, all his stuff is going up. Well, New York Stock Exchange now has an exchange in Dallas.
Okay.
And the first stock they listed was Trump's company, Truth Social or Social, whatever it is. That was the first one they listed here. And I'm thinking, boy, when you want to talk about kissing up and sucking, you know what? You guys are doing a great job. So, and I'm just like,
queers out down in Dallas.
That's right. That's right.
Sounds like you're not trading in steers.
That's right. It's
Sorry
just,
to be to use some old century terminology, but
officer and gentleman.
So.
That's officer and gentleman. Remember that? He goes, boy, there's only two things that come out of Dallas. That's steers and queers, and I don't see any horns on you.
Jacket. Right?
No, that was officer and a gentleman, Richard Gere and Louis Gossett Jr.
Yep.
Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. And Louis Gossett Jr. reminds me of one of my favorite movies called Diggstown.
Yes.
James Woods. Anyway, yeah, not my favorite human, but that was just it's the boxing match where the fix is in. Yep. And at one point he like straightens his tie, and and then you go down. Anyway, it's very, it just reminds me of so many things that are totally rigged. And in fact, today is the 1st of April, Stephen. So that is the big election happening in Wisconsin. And, hey, I timed it wrong. I was in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. If I was there this week, I could be getting a check for $1 million.
Elon Musk, which they say is illegal.
Nothing
you can't do
crooked about that.
There you go. So basically, I don't know what his worth is now. It was 400. I think it's 200 billion because of Tesla's just dropping like a rock. So he's giving away money. And I think, and I could be wrong, I'm no legal expert, that's like buying votes.
Yeah.
So, like if you're just going to give $1 million checks away to vote, I'll vote for however I can be bought. I mean, I have no problem. Most people are like, yeah, whatever. And so is that what we're going to do now as a nation? It's going to be like, listen, we're going to keep you all happy. We're just going to run the printing press. And instead of really get the budget under control, we're going to have whatever comes after $1 trillion. That'll be the next budget number. And everybody in America every year gets $1 million.
One new crypto coin worth $1 trillion and would pay off the national debt like that. That's
Trump's coins.
Theory. Certainly Don Jr. is like, yeah, it's going to work. It's totally going to work. But so, yeah, I mean, if Elon Musk showing up, maybe that would be the worst thing in a way. From what I could tell, situation on the ground, even like, because I was outside of Milwaukee area, right? And that gets into the deep red, like Waukesha County. So I was seeing yard signs for, red side, blue side, team blue, team red. But anywhere you go, anywhere we went, you mentioned Elon Musk, and it was like, boo.
Yeah.
Not like burning Tesla dealerships, boo. But
that's too much boo.
Yeah. But people had definitely heard about Teslas being burned. Like, what breaks through the, I was there. I wasn't reading the news so actively. I had to return to Europe before I realized about people being disappeared to Venezuela.
Right.
And but while you're there, it's just like, oh, who's going to make it to the Final Four? It's March Madness, and
Right.
just trying to get from point A to point B, and how much does stuff cost? It's easy. I get it. How easy it is, and how hard it to be distracted. How hard it is to break through with like a message or whatever. But people have definitely heard about, prices are not going down, and Musk and Teslas and stuff. So anyway, now he shows up. If here's the thing, I also heard this on Pod Save America, so I'm just giving a little sample platter of all these podcasts. But let's say Musk very publicly puts his money on this Republican candidate, Skimmel, which in Dutch means mold. And he's so he's a green candidate. Anyway, Skimmel is the Republican guy in this whatever state Supreme Court seat for. It's not a huge, nationally relevant race, but
it is for Trump.
All eyes are watching, because if Musk and or Trump take a loss here, then all of a sudden Musk's threat to primary any Republican senator or Congress, whatever, to put money into their opponent, maybe if Musk takes his best swing and misses, then maybe all of a sudden these Republican Congress people grow a spine. It could happen.
I doubt it. I'm thinking that if the economy gets worse, Trump keeps talking about a third term.
Yeah.
People, whether they voted or didn't vote for him this time, or even voted for him this time, I think when the midterms come, they're going to be like, pardon my French, fuck this bullshit. And they're literally going to be like, we're going to vote for Republican. We can go back to the woke shit and the transvestites, and we don't care. We just don't want this guy in there anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Republicans have learned a lesson. I think they learned that people stay out of their lives, make the economy better, get jobs, give healthcare, get whatever. And maybe if they've learned that lesson, and I know the two guys out of Pennsylvania, the governor and the senator, they know that. Now, whether they actually are going to run against Trump and Vance, I'm not sure. But if they do, not the worst thing in the world. I'm very excited if they do that. I think it'll be a good race. Unless Trump pulls some bullshit, but I think
that's what calls national emergency and suspend the Constitution, and there's no election.
But there has to be a reason, and then the Republicans then would be, if they didn't fight him on that, and there has to be a real reason. Like we'd have to be at nuclear war, like nuclear bombs would have to be going off. I'm sure we can. But if that would happen, if just say nothing happens, and he goes, you know what, I just decide I want to be president. I'm going to call a national emergency and do this and do that, and none of the Republicans do anything, then they're complacent. And when he finally and his group lose their reign of power, the retribution will be like the Herrenberg trials, and it's not going to go well.
Nuremberg?
So Nuremberg, thank you. Yeah, Nuremberg. Yeah. That's what this is. Think about what that would be. They're all going to go, the emperor.
Right.
Well, when that emperor fell, and the people were like, oh, we have our freedom back. Nuremberg is a good place. Well, why don't we try you? They'll be tried as traitors.
I bet Germany would volunteer Nuremberg. Like
hold that again.
Locations we could use them for trials. It would be great.
Yeah, and we'll ask the questions. So it's kind of like, I don't know if they're thinking. Once again, everybody only thinks until noon. If you don't think 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years out, then sure, this is a great idea.
Okay, be like China. I get it, Stephen.
Well, I'm not saying be like China, but back in the 50s and 60s in America, people used to think past noon. They would think about what's a 5-year or 10-year or 20-year plan. Now everybody's thinking about so what do we do at noon? And I'm like, but if you're complacent in this, because you guys didn't do anything for January 6th, now you're complacent in this. What do you do? Like, what's going to happen to you when he's going to die at some point, right? He's an old, he's 82 or whatever. He passes away.
Do you know Maria Ressa?
I've heard of her. We went for lunch, and the baby's not mine.
Did
No,
we?
never mind. Go on.
I might have even mentioned this last time. No, so
Right.
she was on a podcast. She won the Nobel Peace Prize. She's from the Philippines, and so
Okay.
she was talking about how they had Rodrigo Duterte. You know,
Yes, I remember him.
right? So he came up the same year as Trump in what 2016.
Yeah.
Um, but Duterte got himself bounced out of power, and
Yeah.
I mean he was full on dictator, right?
Yep.
Like he was trying to be like Marcos. I
Yeah.
think he got bumped by the son of Marcos,
Marcus,
right?
yep.
But apparently, according to this Maria Ressa, Nobel Peace Prize winner, journalist, and jailed, by Duterte or whatever. But she said like, well, he lost the support of the military, and
Right.
here I am looking at Trump and like, oh, well, surely that would never happen.
Happen here in America. Well, here's what's really
Signal
funny.
gate, signal,
This, I
failure,
would
or
say
whatever
the
we're
Signal
calling it.
thing. You're,
Yeah,
you're you're texting on Signal, which is not secure. I
yeah,
listened to a military analyst that says everybody that was on Signal has a military attache person
yeah,
that has secure communications. They can text as much as they want,
yeah,
and they're like, I don't understand it. One of the guys is in Russia while he's doing it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking to myself, if you guys are just trying to like, if you're just sympathizers and you want to be like Putin, why don't you just, I don't know, why don't you just put it on an open chat? Let the
Right.
whole world see it. And Yemen doesn't have internet, so they're not going to see it. You can bomb the shit out of them and go, look what we did. I mean, so it's kind of like,
Yeah,
and that's my other thing. I can't believe, and I'm assuming, and I don't know, the spooks or us people are kind of like, this is going
yeah,
to be interesting. And I got to believe
yeah.
the military, real generals, not these, people that he's thrown into power, but people that
No.
like live and breathe by the Constitution are like, we have to defend the country, the
Well,
president.
and defend your service people, right? So, I
Right,
mean, these giving away the coordinates on basically an open,
right.
like that was compromising the safety of the pilots, right?
Yeah.
So,
And the ground crew and this and that. But how do
yeah,
you, like, if I'm a service person or
yeah,
a military officer, how do I feel that I'm going to send these young kids into battle? Because I'm
yeah,
assuming if you're an officer, you've been into battle, right? You
yeah.
just, at some point you got to go fight something, and now you're behind a desk.
Okay.
How do I feel about sending 18 to 30-year-olds in to go possibly die
Yeah,
because it's, on a public board? And I'm like, dude,
yeah.
like if I was in the military, I'd be like, I'm out. And I've talked to some military people,
Sure.
and like they are
Yeah,
like they can't even stay calm about it. Like I'm like, what do you think? A signal?
yeah,
It goes 0 to 1 million really quick, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
we will put
Veterans
you
as
on
well.
this
Like,
show, but
and how
yeah,
many guys
that's what I'm
get
saying.
dumped for loyalty reasons? And
Yep,
what are they just going to sit at home quietly?
yeah.
Yeah,
So this is
yeah,
not, for us, it's not good for a country. It's also, and we've talked about this the last show, people in America are not that they're stupid, but some of them are. Most of them are ostriches. They stick their head in the sand.
yeah.
Let's just say 10% of the 360 million people read a paper. I
Right.
mean, really read a paper, not
There are no
sit on
papers left.
TikTok
So,
or
yeah,
right or Instagram.
it's
So
hard. I
yeah,
get
so
it.
they don't know. And nobody watches the news. And if you talk to people, they're like, oh, Trump's doing a great job. I'm like, where'd you get that from?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Instagram or I got it from Fox News. I'm like, no, really? Did you watch a real news station?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Or
it's
TikTok,
these, yeah,
reels.
it's
Yeah.
bad. And
Yeah.
so I'm just shocked that, and listen, you're allowed to screw up, but when you start saying you're going to run for third term, I'm kind of
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
you got to, now we have to take a look at this. Like
Uh-huh.
I've said before, I like the concept of his ideas. I like the cutting of government waste. I
Yeah.
like these concepts. I love.
Marie Kondo, only if
Yeah,
it sparks joy do you put it back.
that's right. But if you don't do it properly,
Yeah.
then you look like an idiot. Like, Trump and Musk are like, we've cut this billions of dollars out. So when financial people and
Yeah.
government people and news people start researching it, or Musk's family cut like 400 billion out of the budget. And they're like, it's 8 billion,
Yeah. Yeah.
not
Well,
400, because
yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
doing things. And so if you
Well,
did
they're
it
firing a
right,
lot of scientists, and
and
apparently
then they
those
have
guys
to
are being
rehire them.
hired by states now, or at
Yeah.
least like states like California or states that can afford, and Europe. So
Yeah.
we'll take them.
And we're bringing people back. We fired, like, I think the
Yeah.
Veterans Affairs, all of them,
Right.
they had to bring them all back. They fired the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nuclear
They're
regulatory.
fired.
So you
Well,
fired
but
and then you bring
don't
them
go
back,
far.
right? Yeah, yeah. So my whole point is if you spent, instead of
Right.
trying to, show how big your penis isn't in 90 days,
Mhm.
and took, say, 6 months and said, okay, let's go through the budget. We don't need this. We don't need, like, things you really don't need, right?
Yeah.
And how can we downstaff? Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one. Next, and did it properly. in
Yeah.
6 months to a year, you probably
Yeah.
would really save $1 trillion.
Yeah, I mean,
And you
cutting a
would
lot
have
of red
won.
tape. I mean,
Yeah,
great. I
but
heard the podcast with Ezra Klein. Let's
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But
I'm all for it, but do it properly, not
yeah,
with these guys that just because somebody got lucky and has $400 billion
yeah.
doesn't mean he's the smartest guy on the planet.
Who
So,
else was there's a new guy, Greg Kasar. He's the head of the like Congressional Progressive Caucus, and I
oh
think he
God,
translated it to like $8 million a day that uh, Musk is basically giving himself because he's cutting a lot of
right?
waste, fraud, and abuse, but also a lot of contracts seem to
Yeah,
be going to Musk-owned companies from
yeah.
Tesla to Starlink to SpaceX, and so he's there's some sum total of how many billions of dollars he's now awarded his own.
Himself, yeah.
Yeah.
To,
So again, a good investment. What did he spend?
yeah.
200 something million to buy
To
the
get
election.
Trump in. I heard there's a senator in front that was talking to one of Trump's appointees, and he said Musk's companies, and Musk, if you will, make 8 million. They make $8 million a day for the
Yeah.
United States government, and that was
Yeah.
a month ago. So I don't know what it's
Yeah.
gone to now. But
Okay.
but Starlink's not doing well because everybody in Europe's canceling it now. They're like, all the countries are
Yeah,
like,
'cause,
yeah, we don't need
Tesla's
this.
knows
No,
that Starlink
we're
too.
good. We're good.
Uh,
And so
yeah. Well,
he's losing
so
money.
maybe Starlink will help the rural areas get internet after all. And I don't know that as long as you don't have to do your homework in a McDonald's parking lot, that would be good.
Yeah.
Um,
Now it's
trying to think.
Chipotle, then that's okay. So
Oh yeah, Chipotle.
I'm just kidding. I
See,
have no idea.
you see, this is why we can't have nice things.
That's
Uh,
right.
you know what? We started off talking about the U.S. passports, and I'm going to give up my passport.
All right.
I made a note because there was a funny story about a British citizen I heard of who
Okay.
was and this was after like the Iraq invasion 2003, and Tony Blair was like, "Oh, we can't believe our government would do this." So some British citizen was like, "Send my passport back to the nearest consulate or embassy and
All
like,
right.
please take my British passport. I don't want it anymore." And I hereby give up my citizenship. So a couple weeks later, he just got an envelope with his passport and a note that said, "We believe you must have misplaced this."
I love
So
it.
like
That's great.
resignation not accepted.
Nice.
Very diplomatic, very British. France as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Marine Le Pen, the Trump of France,
Yep.
looks like
I
she's
saw that.
going to the clink.
5 years.
Le clink.
Yes, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's another way of doing things, I guess. Of course, it's a total witch hunt, but I mean,
Right.
it seems like it wasn't an accident that she misplaced all this government money.
I
Uh,
know.
but anyway, so they did. Yeah. What else? I'm trying to see if I can transition to any of this green stuff I brought. I purposed some news about climate, which
Right.
is like climate good news for climate skeptics. That's my new
Okay.
angle.
Okay.
You can be a climate skeptic, but
All right.
and some of these articles are like really like there's been a whole study about whale pee. And
Right.
so again, if we're talking about government waste, like whale pee transports thousands of tons of vital nutrients around the world's oceans, according to a study.
I want to know who got paid to do that study.
Yeah, yeah. Whale pee. I
Whale
mean,
pee.
I
Interesting.
guess, of course it does, I suppose, because
Yeah.
whales pee. They didn't even study the poop. Apparently, that's a whole.
That's a whole nother thing that it
Whole new
transfers.
stuff.
I guess Captain Abraham was like, listen, I've been hanging out with Moby for a while. I know what the whale pee does.
And
God.
so fine. I guess no one's ever really thought of these majestic creatures as pissing all over the
The ocean. Yeah,
ocean.
you don't really think of like a fish like defecating, right? So, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure they do.
and
And
we're
you just
swimming in that. It's
yeah,
disgusting.
it's
Yeah,
terrible. Yeah.
but so whatever way. So that should appeal to some climate skeptics. What else?
Yeah.
There's another one about a nuclear waste powered battery. Let's see, am I getting this right? It
Okay.
is that God, no, not that one. It is No, that's just good news. Damn it! This is a world first from Interesting Engineering.
Okay.
World first nuclear waste powered battery unveiled in Japan. It's using spent uranium as an active material.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
like, what could possibly go wrong? We have so many things you could
Those
use
two
for a
cars. Can
battery.
you imagine those two cars? Two cars hit each other. Hey, what happened down on Highway 17? Oh, you can tell by
Yeah,
the mushroom cloud. Don't worry about
right.
it. It's good. It's good.
I
Yeah,
don't
go
know if
build a
it.
road.
You wouldn't need a whole mushroom cloud, but and it's Japan of all the countries that.
Right.
I mean, I'm not even talking back to World War II, just like Fukushima.
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong? Nuclear waste powered
Cars.
battery,
Nice.
spent uranium. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we need more screenplays for Godzilla movies, but
This is one.
it's a whole new
And
crop.
your flashlight will never die. You, on the other hand, will glow in the dark and die immediately.
There
But
you
your
go.
flashlight's going to
Yes,
go
you will
forever.
be a source of light
There you
for
go. Forever and
generations.
ever. Yeah. That's
So I mean,
crazy.
this is specifically for the climate skeptics. So
Of
good.
course.
Another one was there's a Dutch startup. I think like two
Okay.
Dutch startups. There's one called Skytree, and there's one
Okay.
called Return Carbon. So you can guess what field these guys are in. It's
Right.
not carbon capture, I think, but it's what do they call it? Direct air capture of carbon.
Ah,
So that's
okay.
the DAC. This is basically a giant vacuum cleaner for the sky.
That's right. We
And
talked about that like 6
yeah,
months ago. You talked about the vacuum
yeah.
cleaner in
There
the
are
sky.
different
Yeah.
startups doing this. Dutch ones have been hired by Texas to go into Texas, and they're trying to remove like 500,000 tons of CO2 out of the Texas atmosphere per year.
Wow. That's because Elon speaks. Yeah.
But it's basically like humidifier, dehumidifier.
That's
So
funny.
we're not going to stop
Right.
producing fossil fuels, but we're going to, it's
Yeah.
like drinking Diet Coke, still good.
But you know what's really great about this? When
Yeah.
somebody watches this
Double the
video
Diet Coke. Yeah.
100 years from now,
Oh,
they're gonna be
yeah.
like, these guys were so funny. They're dead now, but they were so funny.
Right.
Because
But they're
it's all
still glowing.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And we're still glowing now that you can see the earth from all over. So- and we're still using fossil fuels because that's technically never running out because I don't believe it really came from dinosaurs. I have a
Oh, yeah.
problem with that. And nobody can explain to me how dinosaurs do. Because if that's the case, I can pile up a whole bunch of people. I should be able to get oil. It's the
Yeah.
same hypothesis.
I don't like where this is going at all.
But I'm just saying, I'm not going back to the 30s. I'm just making a statement. It's like I think, and I
Yeah.
read something on this, whether it's true or not, there's just basically a river of oil that runs through the earth. And
Okay.
so somebody said that they came up with this dinosaur hypothesis when it
Ah,
started to make it feel that it's like, ooh, dinosaur hypothesis. There's only so much. So
yeah.
they can keep raising prices. We're going to run out one day. We've been
Oh,
running
yeah.
out since the oil crisis in 72.
1973 to
Yeah, 72. When I was a kid, I remember you go
Right.
online. Oil was 10 cents, 25 cents a gallon. It jumped to 75 cents. People were having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
in Texas, it's like $3 a gallon. When I go to the West Coast, it's $6 a gallon. When I
Yeah.
go to Europe, it's like, do you want my kidney?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is.
a
It's
different
what
world.
is okay, so this is fun. A liter
Yeah,
of benzene, or so a liter of gasoline over here is
right.
€2, I think. But
Okay,
a liter is like a quarter, is like a quart. So
right.
that's 8, and that's just a good day.
Yeah, that's
It's
California, Washington. When I'm in
yeah,
California or Washington State,
yeah,
and we rent a car and we have to
yeah,
fill up. I'm like, I know it's cheaper to Uber.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
need a car at my disposal. I'll Uber and
yeah.
I'll pay that money and I'll still come out $200 or $300 ahead because I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
just
so.
it's gonna get worse.
Uh,
So I mean, I hate to be
oh, yeah.
the gloomy guy, but it's true.
Yeah. But the oil will never run out, as you said. So I guess
Yeah,
that's
so
okay. Well, good. It seems
it's
like
good for
what you
us.
said, the magic flowing river of oil. It reminds me of Willy
I
Wonka.
read some guy that was like a world famous geologist, and he was talking about oil, and he's because I'm a kid, I'm like, I don't get the dinosaur concept, and all of a sudden I read this thing, and it was sort of like Oil is just something that flows, whatever. Now, I'm sure some
Yeah.
geologists can come on and correct me, but I
Okay.
understand how dinosaurs get compressed and you
Yeah.
make oil, especially
Yeah.
this much oil. How
Right.
many dinosaurs roamed the earth? Was basically there was a dinosaur every foot next to each other for this much oil to come.
A
So
lot
there,
of big
so
piles of
so
oil.
one, so this guy was saying there has to be a river of oil underneath that technically never runs out when
Huh.
the earth must produce it, because if that was the case, we should have run out like in
Oh, yeah.
1963.
Right.
And I thought that was
Well,
interesting.
sort of like food. They keep saying we're gonna run out of food.
We keep going.
Well, so far, I mean, so far, so good. But yeah, the technological advances,
There you go.
this is pretty good. Anyway, I can get into that next time.
Yes, because you have to go.
I
So
have to
everybody,
go.
Greg
Yeah,
has to go. But
yeah.
thank you for doing this. We will see Greg in May and not on April Fool's. By everything we said, April Fool's. No, just kidding. It wasn't.
April Fool's.
Anyway, Greg, it was a pleasure to see you as always. Anything you want to plug before we run away?
Yeah, I'm performing around the Netherlands, but then working up to the let's see, the Amsterdam Boom Chicago Comedy Festival coming up in June, and that's gonna have a bunch of famous alumni here. Seth Meyers with his brother Josh Meyers, and Brendan Hunt, as well as some Dutch celebs as well. So it's it's all working toward more. Live performing, whether it's stand-up comedy or improv.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that more next month. Greg, thank you once again, everybody. Thanks for watching. We will see you next month on Funny Haha with Greg Shapiro. See you, Greg.
Woo-hoo!
Cheers.
Thanks, David.
Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Thanks, David. For